Shalom, this is Amonute Tayac of Piscataway, your friendly neighborhood Shuman, Sophia Spiritualite, the AmaruKhan Miriyam, and we are here with a sermon, so to speak. Some people like that kind of stuff, and this is going into the golden age, but I'm going to explain it using a scripture that everyone is familiar with. You could take out your Bible. You probably remember this off the top of your head, but we're going to look at the 23rd Psalm. So I have my Orthodox Bible, which gives a little bit more context. And so about the 23rd Psalm, it says that the 23rd Psalm is chanted in the name of the Gentiles, who rejoice because the Lord is their shepherd. They recount the mystical supper the shepherd has put among them. Paradoxically, the most beloved of all the psalms, frequently sung by congregation during Holy Communion on Sundays, is used quite sparingly in the services and is not mentioned in the New Testament. The psalm makes mention of water, oil, and the spreading of the table, and is understood, therefore, as a sacramental psalm. Psalm 23 appears in the order for the prayers prior to Holy Communion and is a prokimenon in the Orthodox Church in Tuesday Vespers. So this is the Lord, the shepherd of his people, a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. So, the topic is the valley of the shadow of death is what separates you from the golden age. I made a video yesterday and I talked about how some people are assuming that the golden age is going to come in and everything is going to be perfect and there's going to be no work required. And, I was lamenting that I knew that wasn't true. I knew that wasn't right. It didn't feel right. When someone said it, it didn't feel right because it wasn't my experience. When I started this channel, one thing anybody would say is that I was dedicated. At the time, I saw my life falling apart, and I knew that I needed to do something. I knew I just couldn't sit and do nothing. And what I knew that I could do was read Psalms and pull cards. And I knew both of those things would be useful and helpful. And I understood that I needed to do something. I needed to contribute in some way, shape, or form. And I started out doing daily prayers twice a day. But on my own, I was doing prayers 5 times a day. So while I was producing videos twice a day, I was still actually doing my own prayers 5 times a day. And I did a lot of Psalms. Psalm 23 I did all the time. I think every single day. And after that is when the attack that I didn't know was coming really got started, because we did a 40-day fast, and then we did a 22-day fast, and then we started canceling contracts. And from there, we have progressed to this point where, finally we have some sort of, control over these attacks, meaning they don't, whatever people was doing before, I don't know what it is. It doesn't have an effect. So it came to my realization that this must be This must not be witchcraft, sorcery, evil eye, gods, ghosts, whatever. This has to be a test. So if it's a test, why? The question I just kept asking, why does this have to take so long? Why does this have to be so painful? Why does it have to happen like this? Can't I learn this lesson some other way? As I was talking about this with a sister, she started to say, literally quote from this psalm, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is the psalm. Now remember, this whole Bible here is a contract. This is your contract. See, the mega church pastors like TD Snakes, create a flow of dollars, they don't want to tell you this because once you realize this, you don't need them. And you don't need them because you will clearly see that in order to get to the golden age, in order to get to the promised land, you have to go through the valley. See, we have been taught, we have been programmed to believe that if it is difficult to do, if there's resistance, the resistance means that it is some kind of attack. And that is not how it works. And if it did work like that at one time, it's not how it works now. This is how it works. To quote from the beloved brother Cat Williams, sometimes Diddy wants to party and you got to tell him no. See, the devil wants to party and you have to tell him no. But that doesn't mean when you tell him no, things get easier. No, it's the total opposite. When you tell the devil no, things get harder. So you got it crossed in your mind that somehow by saying no to what you know is right and standing on your square, that following that, things are going to get easier. But no, when you say no, instead of taking the easy path, the path that's well lit, you're going directly into the valley. Why is that? Because that is the promise. It says it here. He leads me in paths of righteousness. You being led in the path of righteousness is not you being led down an easy path. Why would you need someone to lead you down an easy path? The only time you need to be led is when the path is hard. If the path is easy, you don't need to be led. You don't have to second guess that. That'll be an easy decision to make. No. The path that you have to be led on is the path of darkness. The path through the valley of the shadow of death. That's the path that you have to be led on. And once you realize that every blessing is at the other side of the valley, you cannot get to the golden age without going through the valley. A lot of people, God bless all of you, but you put off going through the valley. And so now you're going to have to go through the valley. There's no getting around it. You must go through the valley. Now, the valley is not easy. The valley is very terrifying. But you have to remember a few things. Number one, He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. It's not about you. Nothing in that sentence says it was about you, your feelings, your family, or any of that. No, it's not about you at all. It's about Him leading you down a particular path for His name's sake. This is why Brother Yeshua would say several times, he said, if this not be my cup, let it pass. He asked, he said, if this is not your will, let this not happen to me. But obviously, it was the will of the divine for him to suffer the way that he did. There is no other way to get around that solution when you think about it, because Jesus could have called down thousands of angels, ancestors, whatever you want to call them, extraterrestrials, whoever you believe, he could call all of them down and say, hey, it's time for y'all to come get me. But what did he say? If it be your will, take this cup from me. And the Father said, nah, you about to take this cup. It's my will for you to take it. Because why? He leads me down the paths of righteousness. It's not easy. But 3 days later, guess what happened? You have Jesus rising from the dead and defeating, conquering death for once and for all. Proving that death is an illusion. And without the death, there could be no end to death. You see? And so we have to see that that is our example in this life. You can't get to a Sunday morning without going through a Friday night. It doesn't work that way. It's an order to things. This is why we study timelines over here. This is why we understand the seasons and the way things operate, because we know that it's a schedule. Yeah, you can speed the schedule up. Absolutely. How do you speed the schedule up? Well, here's what it says. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Instead of walking through the valley of the shadow of death, why don't you run? You know you have to go. There's no getting around it. Why avoid the valley of the shadow of death? It's just a shadow of death. It's your shadow, the shadow of your death. That's what it is. It's the shadow of your death. So instead of avoiding it, putting it off, making it take longer, extending the time, this is what the enemy did. He extended the time. That was stupid. He could have just, hey, get this time over with. This is what the Most High gave to us. Instead of us having to serve time and time and time and time again, no, we got through this thing. Hey, 400 years and we're done. That's it. They only got 400 years and it's over. Imagine if we would have said, oh, extend the time for us. Let's take it slow. Oh, can we just half of us lose this and half of us? No. That's not what happened. It's like, boom, take it all away. Let's see if they can make it back. Now, those people who try to extend this time and extend it and extend it and extend it, they have to do double time now. Because why? They extended the time that wasn't supposed to be extended. So now they're going to have to do double. The Most High already knew how he was going to operate. So we have the same thing is an option for us. If you avoid the valley of the shadow of death and you decide to make your rebirth take longer, you're going to end up doing it twice. Because if you know anything about childbirth, if it takes too long for the child to come forth, then they have to do a surgery. This is what happened with my youngest son, my youngest child, my son. I tried to push. The pushing didn't work. I still end up getting cut. The time got extended. It could have been over with. But I went in there and said, look, take this baby out. Let's go. No, what did I do? No, I need to try and push. And I tried to push, and it's like, you got a 10-pound baby. No, you ain't pushing out no 10-pound baby with no preparation. So, yeah, you're going to have to go under that knife because it's a 10-pound baby. You ain't pushing out no 10-pound baby without no preparation. You got to go under the knife. It is what it is. So be it. So, had I just went in and said, look, I'm pregnant. Y'all need to go ahead and take this baby out. Let's just get it over with. Hey, my time wouldn't have been extended, but, that was my choice, and I chose to extend my time. And it's the same thing with you. If you choose to avoid... The reason why I didn't want to get a C-section is because I knew the healing time would be much longer. And in the end, I still ended up... This is the perfect story, yes. Let me go into the story a little bit more. I did not know I was pregnant. I did no prenatals and no nothing because it was 2020 and I refused. Something's going on. So I went to the hospital. I drove over an hour to go to a hospital outside of my jurisdiction. And I get to the hospital and the people are like, oh, what's going on? I say, oh, yeah, I think I'm about to have a baby. Oh, well, who's your doctor? Oh, I don't have one. Oh, okay, well, we got to get you to a different hospital. I was at the wrong hospital. We got to get you to a different hospital. I said, well, I can just drive myself. They said, no, you can't do that. It doesn't really work like that. So I had to get into an ambulance and be driven about 5 miles to another hospital, one that could accommodate women giving birth, because that hospital could not. So I get into the hospital and I'm like, no, I don't need nothing. I'm going to push. Then I'm like, oh yeah, I need an epidural. Give me an epidural. Well, the epidural is supposed to help the labor go along a little better. What it did for me is that it dropped my pressure so low that I almost died. And then they had to give me something to speed my pressure up. And then I said, well, let's try the epidural one more time, because once you've gotten that thing in your spine, well, you may as well try to make it work. They give it to me again. I almost die again. I said, you know what? This whole pushing, this whole epidural, all this stuff is not working. It's gonna be about time for y'all to take this baby. We're not doing this. So, what was it like 18 hours later? Here I am with the baby. Now I know I got a C-section. That's a major surgery. It's gonna be a long time to heal. But guess what? This is the most amazing part. This particular hospital, they use some kind of new technology for people who had C-sections. They just started using it. And so with this technology, you can get 6 weeks worth of healing in 7 days. And so when I went back 7 days after I given birth to, are those night clothes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. When I go back to the hospital 7 days after giving birth, they take a look at the stitches and all that stuff they put in. It was all cleaned up. It was totally healed in 7 days. Now that could only happen by miracle. There's no other way of describing that. How else do you describe 6 weeks worth of healing in 7 days? There's no other way to describe that. It was a miracle. It was a miracle of modern medicine, but a miracle nonetheless. One that, whether I had went in there and told them I was going to have a C-section, or waited 12, 18 hours like I did, was the same result. The exact same result. So this is what this is like. Whether you slow down this process of going through the valley of the shadow of death, or you speed it up, it doesn't matter which one you take. When you tell the devil no, when you tell Diddy no, you got to tell him no. When you tell him no, you have taken yourself off the path that's taking you directly into the light, and you're going through the valley. Because all things are birthed in the darkness. Everyone knows that. But not you, right? It applies to everyone but you. Because you see people and they're taking the easy way and all that. Yeah, that's going to cost them. They decided to go through the darkness at the end. Now, you could close your eyes and go through the darkness at the end. I wouldn't recommend that. And it's not your birthright. That's not for you. That's for those people who do those kind of things. What is for you is for you to walk through the valley of the shadow of death. But you don't have to do it alone, because it says, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. What is that? What does that mean? What does that mean? Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Well, we know that the rod is used for magic. And we know that the staff is used for walking. So you have the magic that is within you that you can use to light the way, to bring you hope, to bring you help along your journey. And you also have the ability to move your limbs to continue to exercise and to work through some of this energy, some of this darkness through physical means, and not just, oh, I'm thinking about it in my head. No, no, no. You're going to go out. You want to be physical. You want to incorporate that physical activity into your everyday. And a lot of people, I understand, they walk and stuff like that, but you want to find something that is challenging too, because walking is really good and it's absolutely something that should be a part of your routine. But you also want to challenge yourself. And sometimes walking is not that challenging, especially for older people. Find yoga, find some kind of martial arts. There's lots of different things you can try. You want to switch it up, because the whole thing is, while you're in the valley, while you are being birthed, you want to acquire as many skills as possible. So what does a baby do while they're in the belly? What do they do? Well, they listen to what you listen. They don't have to feed themselves. They don't worry about clothes, and they're not worried about anything really. But so they listen to what you're listening to, and they kick. Sometimes they kick, they move, they stretch. They're always moving and kicking and stretching. We can take that image and put it in our minds as we're going through the valley of the shadow of death. We have to continue to move. See, when things got difficult for me, I didn't keep moving. I stopped moving, actually, entirely. I stopped moving. I couldn't move. I was frozen in time. I did the prayers and that kind of stuff, but I wasn't doing any exercise. I wasn't doing any physical, anything physically challenging for my body. And that was by design, by, whoever designed this test for me. Was like, are you, when the time gets tough, are you going to keep up your exercise routine, keep up your health habits? And I did not. So while I was successful in keeping moving, I didn't keep moving I didn't keep my physical body moving. And when you don't move your physical body, things get worse and worse and worse. I put on a lot of weight because I wasn't moving my physical body. I was moving my mind, with the prayers and, the thinking and all the stuff that's required for the magic, but I wasn't moving my body in the physical way. So you can't do the magic without doing the exercise. They got to go together, because as I mentioned in another video, the process of sweating keeps the charms or evil eye or witchcraft or sorcery off of you. So you constantly have to be moving to keep that stuff off of you. Otherwise, as soon as you stop, that gives an opportunity for that stuff to come back in. And that's why you see some of these lunar brothers and sisters, they're always exercising. And I've heard people say, what do they think they're going to do? They're going to do this by exercising? No, they know what you don't know. They know that if they exercise, that evil eye, that uncle so-and-so, auntie so-and-so, boss, cousin, neighbor, church member, whatever is sending them, it ain't going to stick, because they are repelling it out of their body. They're not allowing it to get into one of these little cells and stick. And those who actually don't engage in this behavior, they're leaving a wide open gate for that evil eye, for that sorcery and magic and stuff to get into their cells and to hang out. Especially black women. We especially have to exercise and sweat that stuff out. Especially the evil eye. That's what's required. Now, of course, you can, I have the body wash, you could take the stuff on the inside, but it's nothing like repelling it right away, having it built into your schedule to repel this stuff away from you. See, and this is what they don't want to tell people in the churches, because if Sister So-and-so couldn't send Sister So-and-so the evil eye, then these people wouldn't come to church every Sunday crying and passing out on the altar trying to get healed. When the whole thing is they're being cursed by being in that place, and then the pastor doesn't even have the decency to tell the congregation, the parishioners, how to relieve themselves of the curse. Oh, you just need to go to sweat. I said this earlier. I said maybe instead of after church on Sunday going out to eat lunch, maybe you should go to the gym. Go out for a family walk. In the Orthodox church, they have coffee hours, so people sit around and whatever. And when it's hot, oh man, I get a good sweat while the kids play on the playground. That's exactly what the kids do after church. So if anybody is sending the kids, the evil eye, they done sweated that thing all the way out by the time they go home. Why? Because they're outside playing in the fresh air, all of that. That's the kind of way that you have to look at this. It's you have to go through the valley. Listen, nowhere in this thing does it say I can go around the valley, I can go underneath it, I'm going to get beamed up over top of the valley, and I can ignore the valley. No, you must go through the valley of the shadow of death. If you want to get to the golden age, you will do this as quickly as possible. Now, we have lots of resources on this channel to make this process easier for you, but it will not change the process. You must go through the valley. You have to do it. The quicker you do it, the quicker it's over. If you extend your time, you keep circling the block, you're getting stuck into the doom loop, and you're just going to keep looping from Iron Age to Iron Age, from slavery to slavery. And if that's what you want, God bless you. You are fully entitled to go head first into the age of Aquarius and be ruled by these people forever. That is your choice, and I support you in your choice. But I am telling you, there is another way, and the way is into the darkness. It's into the valley. And it's not just dealing with your shadow. See, part of it is dealing with your shadow, right? It's good if before you get to the valley, you have dealt with your shadow. Because when you go into the valley, you're going to deal with the shadow of Satan himself. Everything about you is going to be thrown up in the air. And you're going to have to be able to sort through all of this stuff that's being thrown up in the darkness and say, oh yeah, that's a part of me. Oh no, that's not a part of me. Oh yeah, this is a part of me. Oh no, that's not. You got to be able to sort through that, which means you need to be really clear on who you are. There's no getting around that process. You have to know what kind of person you are. Because when you get into the valley, this is from personal experience. I'm not telling you something I didn't go through for the last year and a half. When you get into the valley, if you're not 100% sure of who you are, they're going to throw everything at you, and you're going to take whatever deal comes out first. And guess what? Then you're going right on into the light. And there's nothing wrong with going into the light, but just know when you go into the light without going into the shadow, you're going to have to go into the shadow. And it's going to be a double shadow by the time you get to it, because you got to walk right back down that path of light that you came from back into the valley. There's no getting past the valley. There's no getting past the darkness. You must go into the darkness. There's nothing that prevents that. Only thing you can do is, like I said, like I did, dive headfirst into what you knew you could do. Now, if I had also kept on my exercise, I would have probably had a much better time, but I didn't. So that is why I'm giving that as advice. Listen, while you're going through this, get yourself a really good, strenuous exercise routine. Something that just is exhausting. And when you do it, you feel exhausted afterwards. That's the best way I can tell you. So that you can sweat this spell work off. And that's not lingering in your system, lingering in your cells. But if you don't, it's going to take twice as long. I'm convinced now that if I had kept up a regular exercise routine and been really serious about it, I would have gotten through this in half the time. In half the time. You can speed up your time by you, and not just that, also maintaining a really strong spiritual practice. You can't just exercise and without they go hand in hand. You have the spiritual practice and you have the physical exercise. They go hand in hand. The eating is optional. Why? You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, because the table is going to be prepared by he who led you down the path. You don't have to prepare the table. He's going to prepare the table. He's going to lead you down the path. He's going to give you his rod and his staff, and he's going to prepare the table. What do you have to do? Yea, though I walk. You have to walk. You have to walk. If you don't, this is why I keep trying to instill into people that there is no way out of this situation without some kind of work. There's no way to get out of this without paperwork, without a plan, without something. You're not going to get out of this by somebody dropping money in your account. You're not even going to get out of this by the first idea that the father gives you, or the mother, whoever. That's not even going to work. You're going to start down the path, and then he's going to lead you where you have to go, all the way until you get to the end. And when you get to the end, it's going to be even greater than you ever could imagine. But you have to make it to the end, which means you can't, along the way, when Satan comes and offers you whatever, you got to tell Diddy no. You got to tell him no. If you don't tell him no, you come off the path, you go into the light, and then you have to start all over. And I'm encouraging people not to do that. Now, this is counter to what you've ever heard anyone say, but I know that it's a fact because when I was thinking about delivering this message earlier, there's a blogger that I watch, Sherelle's World. Do you know she probably, I don't even need to record this. She took the words out of my mouth. She reached a major milestone on her channel, 500,000 subscribers, and she said that she didn't even want to acknowledge it because it was so much more work to be done. That's how I feel about this. It's so much work to be done. I don't even want to acknowledge getting to the golden age. We haven't gotten through the valley as a people. Maybe a few people have, 1, 2, 3, 4, but the vast majority of people are still walking in the sunshine, thinking that they're getting ready to walk into the golden age when they have to go through the valley. Because listen, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me. This is how you know it. What follows you? How can something follow you when you haven't gone through it? You can only get in front of what is behind you. If you haven't gotten the valley of the shadow of death behind you, there's no possible way you can move forward. You have to go through the valley before you can get into the light. So that the goodness and the mercy will follow you. Otherwise, what happens? You're chasing goodness and mercy. See, you could be on what side of goodness and mercy do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side where it's following you, meaning everywhere you go, goodness and mercy is right there? Or do you want to be on the side where everywhere you go, goodness and mercy is just outside of your reach? Because that is what the enemy is offering. He is offering you goodness and mercy just outside of your reach, in exchange for avoiding that valley. And you can do that. Again, I'm not here to cast judgment. Unlike some of these other people, these pastors, they want to tell you what to do. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm only suggesting that there's a path you can take that will get you to where you want to go as fast as possible, but it is through the valley. You have to run head first into it, and you have to be led. Not led by me, led by the divine one. And if you can pass the test of being led, because that's a very difficult test for people in general, if you can pass the test of being led, then you can win the race. You will have goodness and mercy following you all the days of your life. And you will get to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Does that not sound like the golden age? I want to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. From golden age to golden age. But I know that it wasn't happening unless I went through the valley. Well, you may say, I don't know, you went through the valley. It wasn't that hard. Was it? Y'all have watched on this channel what I've been through and currently am going through. It's not a secret. I got dozens of videos talking about how crazy things are. If that's not the valley of the shadow of death, I don't know what else you would call that. However, I would not trade my experience for anything, knowing that I will get to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I will take that experience and remember it always. I will never ever forget this experience of this last year and a half. I can never forget any of the people that I've met along the way. Never. I don't take any of that for granted. It's very important that I had learned the lessons that I did, the way that I did, with who I did. And I would learn them again if I had to. However, I understand that once I've gone through the valley, it doesn't say I have to go through the valley and keep on going through the valley. That don't work. It doesn't work like that either. You go through the valley of the shadow of death, and then you get to dwell in the house of the Lord. That's how it goes. Now, while you're dwelling, if you have to make another trip out, that means you might have to go through another valley. Every valley is just a pause on the way to the top of the next top. So you got to go down to the valley and up to the next top, down to the valley, up to the next top. It's a process. So this has been a valley, but I can think back, and most of y'all can think about many times you've been through the valley of the shadow of death. But a lot of people think, oh, because I've been through it once, I don't have to go through it again. That's not how it works. You're not going to go through the same one. You should not be repeating the same exact lessons over and over and over again. You should not be going through the same exact cycles over and over and over again. Every time should be an improvement. So when I come out of, in my view, I would view this as a successful journey out of this cycle if I get to go back to how my life was when I was in Maryland is in regards to my food and all that stuff, but I don't have to work, 100 hours a week to have a good life. And, I get expanded cooking areas and I can feed people the way that I'd like to. I would consider that a success. I can't go back and live the same thing I lived all over again. I should be making improvements. Things should be getting better. And I feel like things are getting better. In my opinion, the momentum has shifted, but that's only because I recognize that I just came out of a valley of the shadow of death. And I proved myself worthy of exiting out of that valley. I didn't just get out of that valley because I wanted to, I liked it, I didn't like it. No. I believe that I have learned the lesson of the valley. There's another thing. You can speed up your time by knowing that you're identifying the lesson. See, if I had identified the lesson from the beginning when I realized I was going into the valley, if I had identified the lesson that I needed to learn, which you can do, I provide the kind of services for that, it would have been easier. It's just taking me now to realize, oh, this is the lesson I was supposed to learn and I missed it. So this valley that we're going through as a collective is not going to end until people realize what the lesson of the valley is, because you can't forget it. If you forget what happened, you don't know what happened because, the media didn't report it, this and that. If you forget it, whatever, that means you're not going to move on to the next lesson. You don't get to move on if you don't understand the lesson that you were supposed to learn in the valley. If you don't get it and you can't articulate it, oh, this is the lesson that I was supposed to learn while I was in that valley. If you can't articulate it, then you can't move on to the next step. And that's the way that it is. It requires articulated goals. It requires articulated understanding. And if you can articulate your understanding to yourself, because this is you having a conversation with your higher self saying, hey, I learned this lesson. I'm ready to move on to the next step. When you can see that things aren't moving. This is how I knew. I was like, okay, now I'm just stuck in a cycle. What's going on? Nothing is moving. Everything is standing still. What I did was I remembered that I needed to focus on spending time sweating. So I went to the gym and I made sure that I did something that I just sat in a sauna for a few minutes, and I got in the hot tub. That's all I had time to do. But I made it a point to do it. That's all I had time to do, and I made it a point to do it. I knew that I had to put all of this stuff together, meaning I had done the spiritual stuff because I lit myself a candle and I said my prayer and made my petition. And then I did the rod part. So you have to put the rod and the staff together. You put those two things together, you are proving that you can move out of the valley. But if you don't put those things together, you're not proving that you learned the lesson. This is in the Bible. I'm not even taking this from, I haven't used no other books. I haven't referenced no other books. This is the 23rd Psalm, which literally everybody knows. And people don't apply it to their life. You want to get to the golden age, you have to go through the valley. And it's a 3-part story because verses 1, 2, and 3 are one part. Verse 4 is the second part of the story. It's the shortest part of the story. And verses 5 and 6 are the end of the story. If you can get through 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5 and 6 are right there. But you cannot get into the golden age. You cannot get everything that you want is just on the other side of that valley. And you have to get through there. And like I said, we're doing everything on this channel we can do to help people get through the valley. You don't have to go to some mega church, empty out your bank accounts, listen to TD Jakes talk about getting swallowed or anything like that. All you have to do is you got to tell Diddy no. Like I can't get that out of my head. That is the perfect line. You got to tell him no. And then you're going into when you get proposition that you're going into the valley. You know it. You can sense when someone asks you to do something that is completely outside of what is right and true and just and fair. Oh yeah, we about to take a trip to the valley. So I'm even giving you indicators on how to know when this is coming. I mean, I don't know how easier I can make it for you. I can't go through the valley for you. You got to go through the valley for yourself. But now you know how to enter the valley, when you're going to enter the valley, when the test is coming, and how to get through it. And how to know when you're coming out of it. Because, when you put that rod and staff together on a consistent basis, that valley of shadow, it just can't make it. You put your prayers and your exercise together. This is why yoga is so highly recommended, because it is like a prayerful exercise thing. So now you can understand why these things are the way that they are. It is up to you to decide how to use this knowledge. I'm just passing it along because I feel like a lot of people are going to lie about what's going on, and it really is an easy solution. Pray, exercise. It's not rocket science, and everyone can do it. Even if you don't have a plan, you don't know what you should do, any of that, if you focus your energy on your prayer and exercise, you can get through this. You can get through this without a plan. The plan will be revealed to you. But the plan can't be revealed to you if you're not putting your prayers and your exercise together. Your spiritual work and your exercise, putting it together and making it happen. Spending as much time in nature as you can, as humanly possible, given the weather where you are, and making that a focus of your life to spend time within nature. Those things put together will get you through the valley of the shadow of death faster than anything else. The other thing is that a lot of people don't know what it is like to have to rely entirely on the Most High for everything. I call this the entrepreneur life. A lot of people don't have experience with entrepreneurship as a sole means of taking care of themselves. And in my opinion, the sooner you become familiar with this life where everything that you earn is at the sole behest of the Most High, the easier it is to follow. It's the easier it is to follow him down the path, because I know that as a result of me always being an entrepreneur ever since I was a little girl, I understand that, the Most High has to bring the people. If he doesn't bring the people, then it doesn't matter what I'm selling or what I'm doing. He has to bring the people. And that is totally at his discretion whether he's going to make my business successful or not. And I can put my energy into making it successful, but it will only be as successful as the number of people that he brings to me. And this is true with all freelance work. You're only as successful as the number of clients you have. If you don't have any clients, you're not very successful. And in this case of the spiritual work, I don't feel like my success is related to clients. I feel like my success is related to narratives. Is the narrative that I am discussing, is it getting pushed through the ley line? Are the influencers that I watch, are they parroting what I'm saying in private conversations? That means that my angel is taking it to their angel and the message is getting passed around. Oh, this is what we need to talk about. That's how I measure my success. It's not always in currency. It's a different kind of currency. It's energetic currency. There we go. I measure my success in energetic currency, which cannot be interfered with by Satan and his crew. They can't interfere with energetic currency. And so it would be easier for people if they had ways to collect and divest their energy into energetic currency. And that looks different for different people, and we'll probably talk about that further. But I just want to make sure people understand that the valley of the shadow of death is not optional. You must go through it. You can use the rod and the staff to get you there. They will assist you. The rod and the staff, they comfort you. The prayers and the exercise brings you comfort. It doesn't make you avoid the valley. It just doesn't. But it does bring you the comfort that you need to get through it. And so I highly suggest that. See, because in my case, let me just, further break this down. In my case, I was exercising. I was, like I said before, I was doing step aerobics outside. It was really, really intense. We were doing it 3 times a week. So I had the physical part down, but I didn't have the spiritual part down because I was iffy on this church I was going to. I didn't like some of the stuff they were saying, and I wasn't really looking for no other option. So the Most High had to turn my whole life upside down so that I would find the spiritual option that I felt comfortable with. Well, in the process, I gave up the physical stuff, and then the Most High had to turn my life upside down again because I wasn't trying to go back to the physical stuff. And then he had to take everything so I could see, oh, there's something I'm still missing. I got to put some stuff together. And so I could see how this whole process, I made this process take way longer than was necessary because I did not understand how to put all the pieces together. You have to put together the rod and the staff. You have to go through the valley. And you use the rod and the staff to unlock, to open the door and to let you out. And there's also a timing thing as far as the celestial alignments and stuff like that. But once you get one thing in order and you got one thing kind of rolling, then the other thing will come together and you'll see, you'll see the progress. You'll see your way out of the valley. And so, this is something that the megachurch pastors could tell their parishioners at any moment, and it would bring so much comfort to them. And so I hope that this has been helpful for you. Please feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, unlike, uncomment, unshare, unsubscribe. If you're feeling generous, you can support your girl, $ Dominique Rebel. It's in my description box as well. Please, 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 if you haven't scheduled a reading, birth chart or whatever, please go into my description. I'll have all the links. You can check out the different things that I offer, and I'll be glad to help you. My wait time is a little bit long right now because my this energy has been very, very difficult for me coming out of this valley, and I'm just starting to understand what's going on. So I'm catching up on all my readings as quickly as I can. So if you're waiting for one, I haven't forgotten about it. It's been very, very difficult getting through this time, because it's not an easy time for spiritualists either, because the ones who are out front really have to have a grasp and an understanding of what's going on, so that we can put it into the ley line to explain to everyone else, because this stuff is not obvious. Even people have read the 23rd Psalm 1,000 times and never looked at it as a 3-step process of how to navigate life. This is literally the life blueprint. Like, literally, in 6 verses, it's the whole blueprint that you need for life. If you can understand this, then you can understand life. Literally. So, anyway, I hope this has been helpful for people. I wish you all infinite love and abundance and peace and blessings. Please make your journey through the valley of the shadow of death as quick and as painless as possible. Get your spiritual practice down. Get your physical practice down. Merge those two things, and you have a winning plan. So, shalom everyone, and we'll see you in the next video.